Yeehaw! My name is Hillbilly Jim Smallman. I am the presenter of this here show known as The Slam on Sports Tonight TV. Welcome. This is our weekly wrestling, news, opinion and general gossip show. Joining me in the studio this week is my regular guest from The Sun, Mr. Rob McNichol. Hello, Rob.
Hello. Don't go messing with the country boys and indeed comedians from Leicester.
Yeah, don't ever do that. And also we have to mention the fact you have had a very severe haircut since last week. Just in case anyone would like to watch Rob's hair regrow, just watch loads of these episodes back to back really quickly. It will have the effect of a Play-Doh mop-top hair shop, which in Germany is known as a fuzzy pumper. Fact. It really is. And also joining us in the studio is we've got an actual wrestler in the studio this week. We have the wonderful Miss Rhia O'Reilly. Hello, Rhia.
Hello.
Who has come as possibly every nerd's dream, as a beautiful lady who likes wrestling and is wearing nothing but Batman merchandise.
Yeah.
So,
good combo.
Yeah, it's an amazing combo.
Yeah, I think
and we're going to talk to you in a little while about Pro Wrestling Eve, which we know you're involved with, and just what it's like to be a wrestler in general, especially, you know, I'm not trying to draw parallels between every other industry in the world, but I would imagine, speaking as a comedian, people always talk about comedy being harder for girls than it is for guys, and we'll touch on that in a little bit as well. So
cool.
I do have to ask you 3 questions though. Every new guest on the show gets asked these 3 questions.
Okay.
First of all, favourite wrestler of all time?
Eddie Guerrero.
Eddie Guerrero, good choice.
Yeah.
No one's gone with that yet.
On the wall.
He is. We reckon he's one of these 2 geezers on the wall.
Maybe, but yes, Eddie Guerrero, amazing. Like his wrestling ability was fantastic, and he worked the audience so amazingly. Like
I presume you've seen the Los Gringos Locos, the tag team match from Mexico, which is one of my favourite matches of all time. It's just, if anyone wants to know how to gain heat as a wrestler, they just watch that and go, you see those 2 blokes there? Just copy that. They are brilliant. Favourite?
Sorry, can I interrupt? I like the fact that your shirt has summed up the first 2 minutes of the show so far as well.
Viva la Geek.
Geeks and a little bit of Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good. You picked up on the Spanish. Excellent. Favourite current wrestler?
My favourite, I guess, to watch right now is definitely Daniel Bryan. I love what he's doing at the minute. I mean, I've been a fan of him for a long time, but I think on WWE right now, no one's as entertaining as he is right now.
No, and also as well, I mean, he's got, knowing that you were trained by Lance Storm, weren't you? So he's got a lot of those fundamentals.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The sort of, as it were, proper wrestling, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's not even that though. I just love him as a heel.
Yeah.
I love the fact he celebrates every win like he's just won the title, and he's like, yeah.
It's so easy to make someone a heel if they're just a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
It's so easy to do that.
And he does it so well.
No, he does do it very well. And I mean, I'll never boo him because I think he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. And favourite match of all time?
I think this was someone else's, but again, because I was there, the first Undertaker HBK match. Like,
oh, you were there for it?
I was there, and like it was amazing. Like the atmosphere in there when that match was on is like nothing I've ever experienced live ever, and so I think ingrained forever will be like my favourite wrestling match.
No, to be fair, I think it's always going to be a lot of people.
Pretty awesome. Yeah.
I think more people from this side of the world went over to that WrestleMania than any other.
It seems that way. Well, that's 2 votes. It was myself that voted for that a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, to be there and to buy into the whole thing was just incredible.
I think one of our Skype guests, Chris, who runs the Mick Foley comedy tour, I think he was there for that as well, because I did try to get him hold up a sign for me, but he was wrong side of the hard camera. I'm very jealous because I was meant to go to WrestleMania when it was in Arizona and I couldn't go.
Yeah.
I got tickets, and I'm still. I mean, how far involved were you in wrestling at that time? I mean, were you?
It was a few months after I finished training, so at Lance's, so I hadn't been doing it for very long, but it was a terrible WrestleMania apart from that. Like it was I just went and had an amazing time, and luckily like Ring of Honor were in town on the same weekend, so I got to see 2 great wrestling shows. Then went to Mania, which had the whole sort of big crazy atmosphere, but it was pretty bad apart from that match.
Yeah, the problem is if you've gone to watch Ring of Honor that weekend as well,
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
Ring of Honor have started doing it, Dragon Gate have started putting on shows, haven't they, same weekend as WrestleMania. And unfortunately, if you're like us in terms of what you like out of wrestling, you're going to sit there and go, well, this is a better show. But you don't have the pageantry of WrestleMania.
No, exactly.
It is very cool that what happens to the city though, wherever it is, wrestling does take over, and you can see the residents and people that work in the city going, what's going on? Because their city's been invaded by these people with all kinds of different wrestling T-shirts and whatever. But yeah, the atmosphere, the fact that there is the Hall of Fame and there is ROH and other stuff going on, does make it a pretty unique experience.
And I'll just say that in my ear, previously, when Rhia was mentioning her favourite match of all time, Martin, our producer, was speaking in my ear saying, I bet it's an Alicia Fox match. Martin, I hope you were joking, because remember, Rhia is trained, she will come out of there and batter you for even suggesting that in the first place. Can
that be the main event of this? Can we do Martin?
I'm up for that, definitely, yeah, why not?
Now, we're going to talk about Raw. Now, I've just said off air to you guys that Raw last week, brilliant.
Best ever.
Yeah.
Raw this week, awful. Genuinely disliked it this week. Partly, one of my main reasons for this is it did seem to feature quite prominently SmackDown talent, which completely takes away the point of having a brand split, doesn't it?
Well, they go with the super show element these days, don't they? So they can justify using some of the SmackDown talent. I wouldn't say it was awful Raw. I just thought it was quite dull. I didn't think there wasn't lots of points where I went, oh, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? But for the most part, I just went. It was very easily skipped. If anyone's watching this and hasn't seen it yet, you can just read results and skip it this week. It's one of those weeks that just there was a little bit of an advancement with Triple H and Taker, and I really liked the Punk and Jericho stuff. I thought that was good, but for the most part, yeah.
I do think you can tell that Triple H is back now and working, because the first 20 minutes of the show was about him, which is really unusual. I mean, he's never done that before. And I like Triple H. I don't dislike him. I think he's a very underrated worker, and people dislike him because of his position.
I agree entirely.
I think he's a very, very good worker and has had some tremendous matches. But it's like, that match is going to be brilliant. But in my eyes, there's a hotter feud in Jericho Punk in terms of crowd reaction.
Absolutely.
The crowd care a lot more about Punk and Jericho. Yeah. And the whole Jericho thing as well. I mean, I've read various things on the internet with people saying, well, they didn't really use the angle that well. I mean, I think the way that Punk sort of was silent and left the ring, I thought was quite a good callback.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious. I was like, that's brilliant. It's exactly what he needed to do, to be honest, I thought.
Well, we talked a little bit last week about the Undertaker Triple H thing and how it was a reflection of last year when Undertaker came out and Triple H answered him, and then this year they swapped it over. This was a similar thing. This was Punk doing what Jericho's been doing, and just coming out saying nothing and leaving. And Jericho was a hoot, I thought, when he said something along the lines of, "How dare you come out here and not speak?" to Punk, which is obviously what he's been doing. So I think Jericho's heel mannerisms this week were absolutely spot on.
I also think Jericho's the best heel in the business.
I mean, I'd argue Bully Ray. I think Bully Ray's fantastic, but Jericho's top 3 or 5.
I think Bully Ray goes a bit cheap sometimes, because he was training in the ECW arena,
yeah.
where you go out and just go, "We've slept with all your mums." That was the basic way of him getting heat. Yeah. And to be fair, worked. Joining us on the Skype wall is my good friend Callum Leslie. Hello, Callum.
Hey, Jim, how you doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Now, Callum's been quite keen to come on the show. Callum, you may have gathered from his accent, is not from down here. Where are you in touch with us today from, Callum?
From my palatial flat in freezing Edinburgh.
Nice. I met Callum during the Edinburgh Festival, you see, and a lovely young man he is. And then bearing in mind my Edinburgh show last year was based quite a lot around wrestling, which is probably why we're mates. Have you watched Raw this week, Callum?
I have, yes.
What are your overall thoughts on it?
Well, I think I don't agree with you because I was listening to you just beforehand, and you were saying that it was awful. I'm not sure it was awful. I'm sure it definitely wasn't as good as last week, because last week was one of the best shows they've done in quite a while. But I don't know. Whenever I watch a WWE TV show and I think, oh, that wasn't that great, I always think back to the Christmas in November SmackDown episode and realise that it could have been worse.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. That was awful. It's always nice. I think we were spoiled a little bit last week by it being, as good as most I've enjoyed a Raw probably since the Monday Night Wars, to be honest.
It was, I can't think of anything in recent time. Maybe I love the old school Raw when they did that, but in terms of last week for the advancing storylines and doing what they should be doing in the WrestleMania season, then last week was tremendous.
I'm quite pleased with Chris Jericho's promo from this week. I thought it was very good. So I did like that he's bringing back probably my favourite word from the 1990s, which is wannabe. And then he used trolled, which was like Twitter speak. So it's kind of interesting to see him bring that back.
Do you not think there's an element, and I've seen criticism of this on the internet on various websites, that the way that CM Punk does promos with the whole exposing the business a little bit side of it, do you think it is because Jericho's now doing a similar sort of thing, and do you think that is taking it too far in one direction, too much of a nod to the fact? I mean, we all know as fans that it's fake, but at the same time, we do still like to have that suspension of disbelief. Do you think they're sort of exposing the business a little bit with that?
I don't know. It's an interesting question. I don't know. I think possibly you and I are not really the sort of fan. I mean, I would say I'm probably more in the smart wrestling fan category than the sort of marks we still try to think it's real. I'm very much a person who watches wrestling, and I can watch entire episodes of Raw and SmackDown and skip the matches just to watch the storylines again, because that's kind of why I watch it. I watch it for the story and the entertainment. So I think to see that, particularly as it's something that's not really been done before, and frankly, WWE since sort of 2008, 2009 was one of the worst years in wrestling ever. 2010 was pretty awful. It's nice because it's nice to see them doing something different and not just recycling old storylines.
Now, Callum, have you got any wrestling memorabilia in your flat?
I have quite a lot.
Right, let's see. Let's go on. Give us a tour. Let's see it.
Oh, I can't move the webcam, but I'll.
Bring some of your prized toys to the camera.
I'm not going to lie to you, Jim. I want to know what's in front of that lamp as well, because it looks very much to me like hair lacquer and Clearasil. So I want to see what's got.
Oh my lord!
Awesome.
That is. I like the fact that you've got that permanently set up.
Yeah.
That is true. Who are the figures? Who are the figures?
We've got Orton in the corner, is it?
Oh, there are 2 Randy Ortons, because this was a Christmas present from my wonderful girlfriend, who's also a wrestling fan. She bought me a job lot of action figures that I think somebody's mum was selling off on eBay because their kid had grown out of them. So here we've got The Undertaker giving the Tombstone Piledriver to Kelly.
Yes.
That's the only way she'll learn.
That's made my day, that has.
You do realise, though, if she was to take that bump, she would do it wrong.
Absolutely. She's not trying to kill herself.
If there is a position that she's used to being in, and so on and so forth.
Oh, hello. There we go. Bill Goldberg figure there.
Nice. WWE figure or WCW?
I think WWE, but I'm not entirely sure. Who knows? My favourite part of my wrestling figure collection is this is probably my favourite one. It is a Kurt Hawkins action figure.
That is worth at least £3 on eBay. That is. I didn't even realise they made a figure for Kurt Hawkins.
You know what it did to his screen? Is that rare?
It's that rare. It is damaged the screen.
Even Callum's webcam has gone. I can't cope with this.
Callum, we're going to leave you to play with your toys, my friend. But thank you very much for getting in touch, and we will no doubt speak to you again soon on the Slam. We shall see you soon, my friend. Ta-ra!
Jim, bye.
See you later, mate. That's Callum on our Skype wall. We're going to go to an advert break in just a second. Coming up in the next part, we're going to talk a little bit more about comedy and wrestling with a very good friend of mine on the Skype wall. We will see you after these messages. Bit of a DX crotch shot for you there. Welcome back to part 2 of the Slam. Never miscalculate a DX crotch chop. I've done that in the past. Painful. Joining me this week are Rob McNichol and Rhia O'Reilly. Thank you very much for doing that as well.
A long way away.
Yeah, definitely don't get too close. It is dangerous. You ever been a DX fan, Rhia?
I was a massive DX fan. Absolutely huge. I used to, now this is a really sad thing, but I used to do that RPG thing online. And I loved the New Age Outlaws, and Road Dogg was my favourite. I was Street Puppy.
Nice.
That's a new piece of information. I think I've told people before.
You mean fantasy e-wrestling, where you write promos?
Yeah.
I used to do that.
Yeah,
I did that before I did stand-up. I used to do that. That was my writing outlet.
I was Street Puppy, and my career ended when I was in a steel cage match. It was electrified, and I got electrocuted to death.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
That's fairly harsh.
It was pretty. Yeah.
I still get. I've had people come and see me do stand-up who used to do that with me and bought signs for my wrestling character.
That's mad.
That's creepy. That anyone would even remember that. Have you ever done that?
I'm quite happy to say no, I haven't.
So if you bought WWE 12, because I always make my character,
Yeah.
who is basically my name with my mum's maiden name. But who do you create? I mean, if you had to make yourself what's your wrestling nickname? You've got to have a wrestling nickname. You can't be Rob the journalist. Rubbish.
The journo McNichol. I think I may have done one once, which was, I think I called it Rob the Missile McNichol, because the finishing move was a missile dropkick. So I think I might have done that.
No one's ever used a missile dropkick as a finishing move. Not since
I did. I did when I created my guy.
Kurt Hennig did once.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe once. But he could throw a mean dropkick. We'll be talking more about Kurt Hennig in a bit. Now, I'm going to promise you something now, and I'm going to sing it because this has never been promised on a television programme ever before. In a second, we're going to show you 4 minutes of Mantor. Never been shown on television before. Basically, last week, in our Jobber of the Week section, we did mention Mantor. Now, there's a guy on Twitter whose Twitter name is @Mantor_fan, who loves Mantor. There he is.
Needs a shave, but
That's not Mantor fan. I must just stress that it's not. But yeah, he defended the Mantor to the hilt. So bearing that in mind, we've got some VT to show you. About 4 minutes of Mantor and defence of Mantor from our good friend Mantor fan. I've not seen this yet. Watch away.
Hi, thanks for having me on. I saw your show and I needed to respond to a misconception that you were indulging in and that a lot of people indulge in, and that it makes me very upset when I hear it, that Mantar was some kind of a jobber or a jobber to the stars or some kind of other wrestler that wasn't the best wrestler in the league at the time and whoever has been in the league. That's wrong. It's simply a misconception that he was not a top-of-the-line wrestler. And everybody at the time recognized that. Jim Cornette picked him up and managed him, and he wouldn't have done that if he hadn't been good. Jim Ross said that he was a powerful, powerful human being. Jerry the King Lawler loved Mantar. He said that. Shawn Michaels said that he thought that Mantar was very talented. And Vince McMahon himself said the same thing, and said that he thought that Mantar was going to be great. Besides that, he won practically all of his matches. He beat Buck Quartermain, he destroyed Leroy Howard, he just pummeled Walter Snow, decimated Gary Scott, and the list just goes on. And he would have beaten Razor Ramon, except for the fact that Jeff Jarrett and the Roadie came out and interfered on Ramon's behalf, and that cost Mantar the match. We all remember that. And, you know, nobody can say what would have happened if Mantar had won that match or if they hadn't interfered, because, you know, it could have set him on a whole different path. And quite frankly, I think we all also know that Mantar would have won the 1995 Royal Rumble match, except for the fact that Lex Luger cheated and eliminated him, and it was really ridiculous. And so for you to go around saying the things that you said about Mantar, it's really out of line, and it just drives me so crazy, and it makes me so mad that I could explode, because I hear it all the time, and I'm so sick of it. He would have been the champion. He would have been the longest reigning champion. Bruno Sammartino would have had nothing on Mantar except for the fact that all of that happened. And there's only one explanation for how it happened. That there was a massive company-wide conspiracy against Mantar that was spearheaded by Lex Luger, who, being the narcissist that he was, I'm tongue-tied, I'm so angry, that he went around because he knew that he couldn't stack up to the competition that Mantar was bringing to the table, so he went to Vince McMahon behind the scenes and he complained, and he wouldn't stop complaining, and he threatened to quit unless Vince McMahon released Mantar. And frankly, we all know McMahon loved Luger, but we also know that Luger never shut up because he was a jerk. When you're talking about jobbers, you're talking about a Kofi Kingston, or you're talking about the Big Show, but you're not talking about Mantar. I mean, he invented the World's Strongest Slam. He did that first. Before Mark Henry ever came around, Mantar was doing that, and he was putting his enemies away easily. Easily, he was defeating opponents with that move. He made it look easy. And he was also the strongest man in the world before Mark Henry came around, and quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if he still was. So I just wanted to, get on here, set the record straight, and let you know that what you're saying is dead wrong, and that there are millions of us out there that don't appreciate it, okay? And we're sick and tired of hearing it, because I see Mantar listed on lists of the worst gimmicks, or on lists of bad wrestlers, and quite frankly, nothing could have been further from the truth, and everybody recognized that at the time, okay? So anyway, that's basically it. In conclusion, Mantar ruled, Luger cheated. Anyone who says otherwise has clearly been paid off by the Luger Industrial Complex. Also, I'd like to say that I support John Cena, Rise Above Hate, You Can't See Me, it's clobbering time, and that's it. So thanks for having me, and have a good day.
I've not seen that before. That is the greatest video I have ever seen.
You are so waking up with a cow's head in your bed tomorrow morning.
I'll be honest.
Who came up with Mansour, not me, by the way, for Jobber of the Week.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest. It is definitely still real to that young man. Thank you, Mansour fan. If we ever criticise a wrestler and you want to, I'll be honest. You've got to go a long way to defend a wrestler as well as that. I like the fact that just to really put the nail in the coffin at the end, he went, "I support John Cena," just to make it even worse.
I think he had people for 3.5 minutes there going, he's got a point, this bloke. Oh no, he mentioned Cena.
But the best bit is I don't know if you noticed, that video was edited. That video was originally longer.
Several times.
I'll be honest, I will agree to disagree with Mansour fan, but if you were going to go to that level of defending a wrestler, then I love you. And also the fact that you went, Kofi Kingston, he's a jobber. Yeah, he is.
He has totally sold me on it. I agree with him. I think he should go in the Hall of Fame next year. He should have had his own talk show segment called The Cattle Market. They should have gone all the way with him. He's right. I agree with Mansour.
The Cattle Market would be amazing. I'm blown away. I mean, the rest of the show's got a lot to live up to be anywhere near as good as that. Wow. Completely unrelated, but we're going to talk about comedy and wrestling. Completely unrelated. In just a couple of minutes with my friend Chris Brooker, who he's training to be a wrestler. I mean, how long did it?
Cool.
I mean, you just one day. I mean, presumably you went, "Oh, I'm going to try." How old were you when you decided you were going to train to be a wrestler?
Well, I did like a weekend training camp when I was like 16, and then I kind of left it for a while, and I literally finished university. Wanted to leave England and do something fun, so I just went to Canada and trained.
I wish I'd done that.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I got married. I mean, it seems.
See?
It's not that's not worked out. I could have had a wrestling career out of this.
Or you could have got married in the ring as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that always ends well.
Yeah, that always definitely ends well. I mean, the reason I bring this up is I did. Chris is going to come on. We did this thing called the Plank a Day Challenge, which is where you have to hold your body in a plank position. And Chris has been doing it for ages and got up to 2 minutes something. I did it for the first time last night and only missed it by 4 seconds. Not rub that in, but core strength doesn't look like there's be any, but there isn't much. Rhea's got loads more than both of us. So. I mean, because you read stories about it. Certainly, when I know Lance has got an incredibly, well-respected wrestling school.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you do read horror stories about people, being conned out of money. And so I know Lance and Chris Jericho in particular had a fairly difficult. There's a picture. Had a fairly difficult time, certainly with the Hart brothers.
Yeah.
So I mean, presumably that translates in terms of the way that he treated you guys.
Well, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think wrestling's changed a lot. Like there was a lot of paying your dues. You kind of pay your dues by money now, which sucks. But I mean, it's better than getting like beaten up every day. So it's quite good. But I mean, going out there, I was so terrible. Like when I started, like so bad, I needed to train every day, and so like for me, it was like I needed to do that, and it was really awesome. And it was definitely worth it. Like a few of the best months, like I always will look back on that time like with the best memories and stuff. So it's really cool, and that's not just for the actual training, but like living with other people training and just hanging out with like Lance and stuff. It's pretty cool.
There's going to be the general camaraderie.
Yeah, exactly.
It's definitely something. I remember interviewing Robbie Brookside for a radio program a while ago, and he runs a school in my hometown.
Yeah.
And I remember he said to me straight away, he says, you're big enough to come and do it. And I'm like, I really want to, but I'm in my 30s and I'll die.
No, you have to. You have to try at least once. You have to.
Right, if you've said so, I'll do it. Joining us on the Skype wall now is Mr. Chris Brooker. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Jim.
How are you, mate?
I'm doing very well. How are you, my friend?
I'm very good. Have you done your plank yet today?
No, I haven't planked yet today.
It's not a euphemism, by the way, kid. It is a genuine thing that I have done. I enjoyed it. I did feel it this morning, I'll be honest.
Yes, I did, because I heard, while I was in the virtual waiting room, I overheard you talking about wrestling training and the great Robbie Brookside saying you should have a go, and you saying you're in your 30s. Well, so am I. I'm having a go. You got it.
Well, I mean, are you older or younger than me, Chris? I can't remember.
I'm going to be 36 in April.
Yeah, you're older than me then. I should definitely be doing this.
I know I don't look it, but yes, I am.
I thought you were younger than me, although you do look like a cross between Hulk Hogan and Big John Studd, which is a look. Now, Chris, we're going to talk comedy and wrestling, mainly because you were involved in something particularly entertaining. Now, I know what this is. I'm going to let you explain to our viewers on the Slam what you're involved with.
Well, for those who've been residing under a rock to avoid council tax for the last 7-8 months or so, A certain gentleman called Mick Foley has been dabbling in stand-up comedy, and he had a tour in November that was a blast. It was absolutely fantastic. It went so well, he couldn't stop there, so we're bringing him back at the end of February, start of March, doing 10 shows across the country in different towns and cities. I'll be emceeing. Jim, I believe you're going to be doing some of the support work for him in London and in Birmingham.
Indeed.
And half the shows are sold out. The rest are going to sell out. It's going to be fantastic. One of the best shows I've ever been part of.
I'll be honest. I mean, me and you are mates. We've been mates for a long time. And you rang me up and went, "Do you want to come and support Mick Foley?" And I went, "Yeah, I'll do that."
There weren't even words. It was just kind of this whimpering noise.
But that's what happened with all the comedians who supported. We're all wrestling fans. So when you did that, we did all go, "Yeah." And then we all met him, and he's the nicest man in the world, which obviously helps to the point where I've had him tattooed on me now, which is such is the joy I have for Mr. Foley. I mean, and he's good at comedy as well, isn't he?
He is. I don't think he would ever claim to be the finished article as a comedian, because it's not something you can just do unless you're amazingly prodigious. You can't be a brilliant comedian in 2-3 months or a year. But he's got such a natural talent for it, such a natural flair. And his ability to riff. Some of the things he did at the Nottingham show that you supported, he had some fantastic interaction with the audience. Some flirtatious banter with ladies on the balcony, which tore the house down, quite honestly.
If you follow Mick on Twitter, he is good at flirtatious banter anyway, I think. For a very happily married man, he's excellent at it. He's a lovely... Everyone, and the thing is, he can be flirtatious, and everyone just goes, "Oh, it's Mick."
Until he bundles you in the van. By the time
speaking of comedy and wrestling, if you're watching... Are you going to WrestleMania this year?
I am indeed, yes.
Now, if you had to pick someone, specifically from the WWE roster, who could go into comedy, who would you pick from the roster at the minute?
I mean, John Laurinaitis has had some fantastic timing of late. No, let's draw the line there. This is an interesting one. Without wanting to... Oh, I've dropped a name. Santino Marella would be an interesting guy, because he's obviously got the timing for it. And I had a chat with him, because I was driving Mick around to some of the house shows on the last tour. I ended up in Newcastle backstage at Raw and spoke to Santino. And Mick was saying he's a naturally funny guy, which he is. Just seeing him turn his skills to stand-up would be quite something. And as Mick rightly pointed out, when Santino said, "Would I have to be clean? Would I have to keep the comedy clean?" And he said, "No, because can you imagine how mental people would go for Santino the moment he dropped one F-bomb or one swear word? It would just be..."
It would be utterly amazing. It would be unbelievable. I'm going to let you do a bit of a plug, because obviously you said 5 of the shows are sold out, I believe. Which shows haven't sold out yet, and let's get them sold out?
Well, let's see. We are doing 3 shows. We did 2 shows in London last time around, and we have 3 shows there on the 24th and 25th. 1 show on the 24th, 2 on the 25th. We've sold more than 2/3 of the tickets for that now across that run, but there's still some tickets left. They're going to sell out. We've just released another 50 tickets for Memorial Hall in Sheffield, which is, in my opinion, is one of the best comedy venues in the country.
It's amazing. It's a great place.
It's fantastic. On the leap year-tastic 29th of February, an event so good, it only happens every 4 years, brother. Yeah, I know. I know how to play.
Was that his Big John Studd impression?
It was, yeah.
Just say any accent you want and put brother at the end.
It works.
Oh, definitely brother. And we've got some tickets released just for that 29th of February in Sheffield, which would be fantastic. We've got Stephen Petty and Martin Moore, formerly Martin Big Pig, supporting, so that's going to be a fantastic show as well. And then Dublin, our one show in Ireland, on the Republic of Ireland, on the 2nd of March in Dublin at the O'Reilly Theatre. Tickets are going fast for that one. We've got loads of press coming out this week as well. We're going to be in the Dubliner, we're going to be on Kerrang Radio, and something I'm particularly proud of, Mick is going to be on Soccer AM on the morning of Saturday the 25th.
I remember you telling me about it. We also, more importantly, we need to get him on the Slam. So, anything, because, me and him have bonded. I have got him tattooed on me. I like to think that you guys will come into the Slam at least, when he's down in London and I'm working with him anyway. We can get him in, can't we?
We'll figure out something. I mean, at the very least, what we can do is, who's supporters, Ian Smith and you and me, what we can do is we can dogpile him and make sure your face is tattooed on him.
Yeah, I'm up for that. I'm definitely up for that. If people want to get tickets, what's the web address, mate?
Okay, the best thing to do, if you go to www.mickfoleystandup.co.uk/tickets, there's information on where to get tickets all across the tour. There's also a Facebook group, which is Foley Stand Up UK. Now, there are shows in, let me see if I can get this right, Glasgow, Cardiff, Birmingham, and Belfast that have sold out, but we sometimes get tickets returned on the Facebook group late near the show. So if you want to go to those shows, keep an eye on the Facebook group, join up. We have competitions, all kinds of stuff going on too. And follow, obviously, follow Real Mick Foley on Twitter for any news of his. And follow Foley Stand Up UK on Twitter. And, a bit of news if you don't know, Mick and Eve are putting together a WrestleMania raffle in the next couple of weeks, where they will give 2 people from anywhere in the world a chance to win a trip to WrestleMania with hotels and everything else taken care of. So
is this how you're going to WrestleMania?
Yeah, I've already bought my tickets, typical.
Yeah. We're going to have to let you go now, Chris, but thank you very much for coming on. I will no doubt speak to you again at some point when Mick's over. And yeah, I'll see you in a couple of weeks, mate.
My pleasure. See you soon.
Thank you very much. That's Chris Booker, who has organised the Mick Foley Stand-Up Tour. mickfoleystandup.co.uk is the website. We're going to go off for a break now. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to part 3 of the Slam. I am Jim Smallman. Joining me in the studio is Rob McNichol and the lovely Rhia O'Reilly, who is essentially, we were talking about this in the break, you're now here to defend women's wrestling after what Brendan Burns said last week.
Yeah, absolutely. Disgrace. That did piss me off a little bit, actually.
Yeah. Well,
it was like annoying. But yeah, because
well, you're always going to defend it. I mean, you're a lady and you wrestle. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, I won't defend what they do on WWE. I won't lie. Most of it's cringeworthy. It makes me want to cry watching it. So, and I think that's just the general consensus of most people that.
But what we should do is we should presumably send Brendan a DVD of like Sarah Del Rey and
well, yeah,
Natalie Toyota
exactly,
and people
exactly.
like that, and which would make the world of difference. Now, speaking of women's wrestling, a British ladies wrestling promotion is Pro Wrestling Eve, and we've been sent a bit of their footage, and we know that Rhea's involved with it. So we're going to show you a quick VT of this, and then we'll chat to Rhia about it after that. I think that is awesome. I mean, that's Pro Wrestling Eve. And the best thing about that is that if we immediately sent that to Alicia Fox now, she would spontaneously combust. Because I would say, I mean, I'm a big fan of Japanese wrestling in general, and watching that, there's so many parallels, I think, between how Japanese wrestling is taught to women over there in particular. It does seem to be that the emphasis is much more on athleticism, and you guys putting on brilliant wrestling matches than anything else.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I think that's the thing, like we were just saying, everyone thinks like, oh, WWE, that's what women's wrestling's about, and like we're there to kind of say, no, we go as hard as the guys, sometimes I guess harder, because we feel like we have something to prove.
Yeah.
And the great thing about Eve is it's girls from all over Europe. We've all got different styles. We've all learned from different places. So it brings together like a great combination of girls with different things.
You had a tournament, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a massive tournament.
Yeah, it was huge. We had a huge tournament to get our first champion, which was Brittany Knight, who's gone over to FCW now. She was beaten by Jenny Shodin just before she went, and she's our current champion, so really good. It's been a huge thing for me. I mean, the first show was actually my debut in wrestling as well, so it's been a big part of sort of my wrestling career so far. It's really cool, and of course then we're trying to make history in 2 weeks' time, Saturday week, by having Europe's first internet pay-per-view, or it's going to be one of our shows. So.
Which is, I remember reading about it, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's really exciting. It's a bit terrifying as well. It's going to be all live. There's no editing happening. It's just going to be there. But it's really exciting that we're getting to do that. We're doing it in conjunction with DivaDirt.com, who's sort of been supporting Eve and you know, really getting a bit of a name for us out there. So it's something that hasn't been done here, and not just it hasn't been done in Europe, and it's a girls promotion that's taken it on. So we're really excited to sort of get out there and show everyone sort of around the world what we can do, because I mean it's been in the UK, the shows are all been in the UK, and we have had DVD distribution, but like this is a real chance for us to kind of go out there and go, hey, this is women's wrestling, this is what we're about. So.
And it is, I mean, the quality of it is, having seen bits and bobs of it on the internet already, I mean, it's brilliant, isn't it, Rob?
It is, yeah, it's very good. And I always think it's good to see any British promotion doing well, but one that can find a niche, because, you know, a lot of the times it's just set up and let's just have a show and let's have fun and it loses money. But, you know, these guys have gone for a specific thing. There aren't that many all-women federations around, are there? So the fact that it's got to this level where there's an pay-per-view, I think it's absolutely tremendous.
Well, I mean, if we can have a European version of something like Shimmer, it'd be amazing.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think that would be the dream for everyone to have a European version of that, because I mean I think that's where the inspiration sort of come for Eve. So definitely that's, you know, we want to be on that level, and it's just about trying to get there.
Now, I have to ask, in terms of obviously we talked about favourite wrestlers of all time, in terms of, strictly speaking, female wrestlers, who would you, if you had to choose 2 or 3 as inspirations, who would you choose?
I mean, right now it has to be Sarah Del Rey. I mean, she's
tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, it's generally in my life, it's what would Del Rey do? So, that's good. I mean, it is a bit of a cheesy one, but I mean, Trish Stratus was the reason I sort of got into wrestling.
She was a really underrated wrestler.
She really, excellent. I mean, you got to remember, she started in WWE. She had, you know, no wrestling training. She did all her training on the road, and I think like she went from me hating her so much to wanting to see her being put through a table so badly to the point where like I thought she was an amazing wrestler, and I absolutely loved her and cheered for her. So I mean, she really got me into it, I think, in the first place, and then all the women around them. But right now, I mean, Sarah Del Rey, and I think in the UK it has to be Sweet Soraya. I think she's an amazing wrestler. Excellent. And also, you know, I do train with her, and I think she's, you know, becoming a really big influence on me as well.
Yeah, well, that's really good. I mean, you did point out when we were watching the VT before that you did get beaten up quite a bit in that video. You don't normally get beaten up that much.
Well, I try my best. But I have been having a bit of a losing streak at Eve, if I'm honest.
Who are you? I presume you're booked for the pay-per-view in 2 weeks.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the main event's going to be for the title. It's Jenny Shodin versus the alpha female, big German scary lady. She's awesome, but it's going to be a good fight. But we're also doing a tournament to pick our new #1 contender. I'm going to be facing April Davids in that, a rematch of a match we had in August last year, which was a pretty brutal, hard-hitting match. So it's going to be one to watch, definitely.
I have to ask as well. This is just because I'm going to have a go at wrestling train. Now you've made me. I've got to. You know me now, and therefore I've got to do it.
Absolutely.
But we should make that a feature on this show. Jim gets pummeled by Rhia.
I'm up for that. Definitely. Yeah. Brilliant.
5-hour show.
just me being hit with European uppercuts for an entire show. What I have to ask what your finishing move is and what it's called, because you know I like to think that people come with good names for their finishing.
Well, it's interesting you should mention that. If you watch the Pro Wrestling Eve DVDs, my finishing move changes quite regularly.
Oh.
It's been the Celtic Cross. It's been the readjustment.
Oh, good. That is good.
I really like.
Nicely done.
That is good.
But we might not know what that is because, as I said, I haven't won very many matches so far. So it's going to be a surprise. You're going to have to wait and see.
But you're going to now you've hit on this. I mean, this is the winning streak's got to happen.
Well, it has to. I think 2012
Please
is
make it happen.
2012 is the year for Rhia. It has to be.
Yeah.
It's I mean, we've got this pay-per-view come up, which I'm really excited about, and really exciting as well. I think it's going to be announced today. Is I'm going to be making my wrestling debut in Canada as well next month.
Cool.
Wrestling for Femme Fatale in Montreal and Quebec. So that's going to be really exciting as well. And there's another brilliant European women's promotion, WAWW, which is run by Sweet Soraya and the Knights. They're doing their second return show in March as well. Mercedes Martinez is coming over from America, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
I'm going to be on that show as well. So there's got to be something's going to happen this year.
It's very exciting.
I'm gonna hurt some people. It's going to be good.
If people want to watch the pay-per-view in 2 weeks' time, just give people the
yeah,
address.
absolutely. They need to head over to divadart.com. All the details are on there. It's $9.95. You get access for 72 hours. So you got 3 days. You can watch the repeats and everything. It's going to be on there. It starts at 7 o'clock on Saturday, the 18th of February. And yeah, and there's still tickets available as well. So if you can get down to Sudbury, come on down.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Thank you very much, Rhia. We'll be back in part 4 to talk about the usual stuff, my questions of the week and jobber of the week, and the answer to last week's question as well. We will see you in a couple of minutes. Part 4 of the Slam. Hello, I'm Jim Smallman. Joining me in the studio today is, as always, Sun journalist Rob McNichol with his 4 horseman pose, and Rhia O'Reilly, who is just wondering how we get paid for this.
What am I doing?
Final part of the show is always taken over with the various questions that I tend to give you to answer me on Twitter. My Twitter address is @JimSmallman if you want to get in touch with me. Last week's question concerned if we could bring back any wrestlers from the 80s at the peak of their careers, who would we bring back? I'm going to ask you both. I'll ask you first, Rob. Who would you bring back? Peak of their careers from the 80s, who would you bring back?
Purely because I think it's the best match that never happened. I'd say Bret Hart, because I want to see Bret Hart versus Kurt Angle. I know Kurt's not as exactly how he could be right now, but that's the best match that's never happened.
And Rhia, who would you
I'll go for a girl. I'll go for Lilani Kai.
Oh, great choice.
Yeah, I think.
Or the Jumping Bomb Angels.
Yes, exactly. It'd be awesome.
Oh, that Jumping Bomb Angels match, I remember watching that when I was about 12 and just going, but these are girls!
Absolutely, yeah.
Because women's wrestling was just... and then you start learning about Japan and stuff, but you watch that and just go, was awesome. Good choice. Yeah. The 3 that we had last week, as per the votes that came through to me on Twitter, number 3 on the list was, as determined by you just then, Rob McNichol, should be, popping up on the screen, should be Bret Hart. There is a collection of 5 Bret Harts. A mate of mine had those sunglasses. He was called Richard. And he had those sunglasses, and he bought them off the WWE website. Well, not even website at the time. It would have been the little brochure in the middle of the WWF magazine.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he was very specific in telling me that he got given them by Bret Hart, which was a massive lie.
Yeah.
But a lot of kids probably did that.
2 things from that. Firstly, Bret Hart number 2 going, where's my belt? How can another 4 have got them? And secondly, sack the guy that made the sunglasses. How big do you think their heads are?
Massive,
Absolutely
massive melon heads. Also, slightly worrying blow-up doll expression on Bret Hart number 5 there. This would be a very weird round on Nevermind the Buzzcocks, wouldn't it? Which was the real Bret Hart? None of them. They're all made of plastic. Number 2 on the list, one of my favourite wrestlers of all time. We did mention him briefly in part 3, and that is Mr. Perfect, Curt Hennig. I remember watching, I think it was SummerSlam 90, where he fought Kerry Von Erich.
Yeah, I think it might have been.
And Kerry Von Erich in an interview called him Curt Hennig, and that was at the time, the only time you knew wrestlers' real names is if you read certain magazines. And I remember going, oh, he mentioned his real name.
Did they mention, were they calling him Kerry Von Erich at the time? Because he would have been Texas Tornado.
He said he was still being called a Texas Tornado, but in his interview he went, I'm going to beat you, Curt Hennig. And everyone went, who's Curt? Who? Oh, Mr. Perfect. Love Mr. Perfect. Great shame he's no longer with us. And brilliant. Best seller of moves ever.
Fantastic. And you can see a lot of the guys that are influenced by him today. Obviously, Bobby Roode's doing really well in TNA. Dolph Ziggler. There's a lot of Kurt Hennig in both of them.
And not just hair that looks like spaghetti. Dolph Ziggler. Martin, the producer, in my ear, has just said the Perfect Plex is the greatest finisher of all time. Slightly controversial. It is only a fisherman's suplex.
That's a question for another day, I think.
That is a question for another day. Not this week. We've got one set up already. Number 1 on the list is the Ultimate Warrior. Now, I remember liking the Warrior as a kid, and if you speak to non-wrestling fans, they will always, who are my age, they will always choose the Warrior as one of their favourite wrestlers, overlooking the fact that in the ring, he was rubbish. But he was involved, him against Hogan at WrestleMania 6, good match, considering the two combatants.
I thought his best one was against Savage at WrestleMania 7.
Excellent.
That was a really good match.
Can you do an Ultimate Warrior impersonation?
No.
Rob, no, come on, you have to do it now.
You can do this every week. No, I genuinely can't do anything to do with it.
Rhia, can you do an Ultimate Warrior?
No, I cannot do an Ultimate Warrior.
I will do one. Put the camera on me, right? These are the ropes, firstly. And then I'm out of breath, because that's all I can do. It is, if you've just tuned into this and gone, oh, wrestling, oh yeah, I can't remember liking that. If you don't know anything about what Warrior's been up to recently, he's gone insane. He lives in a shack in a desert. He's completely crackers. Just go and read some of the things he writes about. I'd love to get him on here.
I think
it's brilliant.
Did he not change his name officially to Warrior?
Yeah,
Warrior?
It's called Warrior.
His name's Warrior.
Like Neville.
Yeah. It is just, he's just, yeah. We need to get him on. I called him out the other week. So if you are watching Warrior, if there's your real name, please come on. We can talk about whatever you want. We can talk. I know you're very interested in politics. You can come on and talk, about your conservative slant on politics. We can talk about anything. I promise not to mention Hogan. Just come on. We'll talk. I won't ask you anything about Hogan. I'm not bothered.
I make no such promises.
Right, Rob might. Right, but just come on. Just come on and have a chat with us. If you're watching this, we probably won't pay for you to come over. Right, I mean, you need to be here in the first place. Maybe hanging out with David Icke. I don't know. Right, but come over and we'll chat. We'll chat about stuff and bring your arm tassels.
David Icke would be a fabulous manager, wouldn't he? We should get David Icke as a wrestling manager somewhere.
Well, I want Chris Jericho to do a David Icke gimmick.
Hey, you could do
And that'd be brilliant.
Pretty good.
It'd be tremendous. This week's question, if you want to get in touch this week, again, @Jim Smallman is my Twitter address. If you want to get in touch this week, the question is this, and this is a good one, and mainly because me and Rob next week have got to recreate these with nothing other than our mouths. Right, easy.
Hang on, I don't know.
Easy. What is your all-time favourite wrestling theme tune? This came up because I quite like the Warriors one because it's purely based on Paranoid by Black Sabbath. It's essentially Jimmy Hart just went Paranoid by Black Sabbath, then just ruined it, like he did for Diamond Dallas Page in WCW. He had Smells Like Teen Spirit, but just with Jimmy Hart obviously messing with it. So your favourite wrestling theme tune of all time. We'll do the top 3. Me and Rob will somehow act them out, a cappella style, in this very studio next week. @Jim Smallman, get in touch. What's your? I have to ask you both.
Twitter @Rob McNichol.
No, I meant your favourite wrestling.
I don't know. We've just had him up on the screen there. I was a big fan of Mr. Perfect's theme.
Very good.
It was very, very strong and sort of summed him up as the Mr. Perfect character. Yeah.
Bum, bum.
If that's in the top 3 now, we're going to have to do this again next week.
Bum, bum, bum.
You need a towel.
And
if a current one, I'm a big fan of Mickey James's TNA one. The Hardcore Country.
It stands out at least. Like everyone else's is so generic. It's like
the anger.
Oh,
what's your theme?
Generic. Dropkick Murphys.
That's a great choice.
Shipping up to Boston. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. That is awesome.
Kind of why I picked it.
There's everything in there, isn't there? There's Irish. There's a drop kick. It kind of.
It's everything you need for wrestling.
You need come out, pint of stout, and then that's it. Perfect.
Done.
Did you got any more stereotypes of that covered there?
Could have had a potato.
That is no.
I do get that shouted at me sometimes as well.
Really?
At wrestling.
That's just harsh.
Potato! I'm like, yep.
No,
all right.
Thanks for that.
You can punch them very hard in the face, which
well,
is a potato.
Exactly.
Before we go, it's Rob Van Dam's entire moveset. Before we go, we always talk about Jobber of the Week. This week's Jobber of the Week, he started as a jobber and then got better, which is always nice. There he is. That's I know what you're thinking. You're looking at that, thinking that's a cheap knockoff version of Bob Holly. It isn't. Bob Holly, Bret Hart. It is Bob Holly. It's when he had his initial gimmick, which is Thurman Sparky Plug, who was awful. I mean, give someone the gimmick of being a race car driver and then now go and wrestle. Doesn't make sense, does it? Your gimmick is you're of another sport, so you're not doing well enough in that sport, so you've got to come into this sport.
They had a few of them back then, didn't they? I remember the
Goon.
baseball guy as well, and a few others. Is the guy in the background there? I can't tell if he's shouting or yawning.
I think he's probably yawning. But I reckon because he was so rubbish to start with, that's why he had such a bad attitude problem.
Maybe. He made his debut in the Rumble, didn't he? Not many people do that. I think it was 94. Is that my years right? 93, 94. He made his debut in the Rumble, so it was he started off with quite a good showing. But yeah, again, I think we're on the same territory. I don't know if there's going to be a Bob Holly fan that's going to rant at us.
Well, I was just thinking that. I mean, if you do want to defend, not Bob Holly, we know Bob Holly. His finishing move is called the Holocaust. Good name, right? Not Bob Holly, but if you want to defend Thurman Sparky Plug as a good gimmick, then feel free. If you are crackers and live in America, feel free to get in touch. At Jim Smallman on Twitter, at Martin Hines, he's the producer. He prefers to deal with people who are certifiably crazy. No. I mean, Bob Holly was an all-right wrestler, but probably a little bit too stiff.
Yeah, possibly. Obviously, there's a reputation there, isn't there? Which I think he was quite proud of after a while and started to perpetuate himself. But again, I'm not sure this is job. I think we can find a better jobber than this next week. We're finding jobbers to the stars. Come on.
All right. Just what popped into my head earlier on. Before we go, I'll let you guys do some pluggage again. Rob, people want to follow you on Twitter and other stuff you do. Go now. Yeah, at Rob McNichol is the Twitter handle, and since I've last spoken to you, our Hulk Hogan WrestleCast, which I talked about last time, is now available. So thesun.co.uk/wrestling, or search for WrestleCast on iTunes. Excellent stuff. And Rhia, if people want to follow you on Twitter, and also more Pro Wrestling Eve stuff. Yeah, at RD Pixie, Rhia O'Reilly on Facebook as well. Check out evewrestling.com, has all the details about the iPay-per-view, which is coming live through divadirt.com. Excellent stuff. Thank you both very much. It's been lovely. I've had great fun this week. If you want to follow me, at Jim Smallman on Twitter. Don't forget, get your opinions in on best 3 wrestling theme tunes of all time. Me and Rob will reenact them next week, and it will be utterly hilarious. And that's it from the Slam this week. We'll be back same time next week. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you next week.
Stay ahead of the game with Sports Tonight Live. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Search for Sports Tonight Live on Facebook and like our fan page. Follow Sports Tonight TV on Twitter and tweet us your thoughts and opinions. Sports Tonight Live, it's the platform for the fans.